Here we are on the banks of the IJsselmeer Lake in the Netherlands. 80 years ago to the day, a German spotter at about 2 in the morning stood about here, right, watched the Lancaster bomber on fire crash in the lake a couple of miles over there. That Lancaster bomber was ED-603. All 7 of the crew were killed. 4 of those bodies washed up and were all buried locally. 3 of them are still in there, we think, in the lake over there somewhere. The plan is, can we find the bodies? Can we give them a proper burial? Let's see what we can do.
This is an extraordinary historical detective story with the aim of solving 2 big mysteries. What exactly happened to Lancaster ED-603 on that night 80 years ago?
Fire!
This was fine.
And you can still make this out 80 years on.
And where are its 3 missing crew members?
So do you think there could be some remains there, maybe?
The search for clues will require an astonishing £1 million engineering project.
I would never have believed that you're going to put a dam around a plane and pump the water out.
And the dedication of some brilliant forensic brains.
This is fractured, and this is what we see in an aircraft crash, because it has so much force.
Guy will learn about the 7 brave men who lost their lives in ED-603.
He managed to shoot down 2 German planes.
Oh, so he was a dab hand then.
Find out why, as members of the heroic Pathfinder force, they were considered the best of the best.
Pathfinders were the elite of Bomber Command.
Yes, how good were you, Joe?
Quite good, I think.
And he'll discover why finding the missing airmen who died in their country is so important to the Dutch.
It's a debt of honor, as we see it. We need to repay something for what they did for us. Everyone feels this way.
A genuine 1943 Lancaster bomber crash site. And to see what we're seeing blows my mind.
The Runnymede Air Force's memorial near Windsor bears the names of 20,265 British and Commonwealth aircrew who lost their lives in World War II but have no known grave. Among them are the 3 missing crew members of the Lancaster ED-603, all of whom had completed at least 40 missions when life expectancy in their unit was just 12.
Here he is. That's that man there. Edward Moore was an expert radio operator. He'd done 1 tour. He obviously was hungry for it. He's gone back to do a 2nd tour. 21-year-old when he died. Arthur B. Smart. Here he is, 29-year-old. Oldest of the missing crew. Brought up in India. Came over to England as a mechanic. Ended up being in the RAF as a flight engineer. So there's our man, Smart. His best mate was Charles Sprack, mid-upper gunner, metal worker before he joined the RAF. Done 55 missions. So hopefully we'll find these 3 fellas and then they won't be missing anymore. So, yeah, of course it's worth doing. Yeah, they paid the ultimate price for our freedom.
The 1,100 square kilometres of the IJsselmeer, where Lancaster ED-603 crashed, is a warplane graveyard. In World War II, it was on a favoured route for Allied bombers heading to Germany. More than 6,000 aircraft were shot down over the Netherlands during the war, and over 200 of them still lie undiscovered in the IJsselmeer, commemorated forever by striking monuments in the lake. will take one of the most complex aircraft recovery missions ever attempted to reach the wreck of ED-603. With every nut, bolt, crane, barge and sheet of metal being transported miles out into the IJsselmeer to the crash site. Exactly how that site was located and identified in such a vast body of water was down to a bit of luck, combined with the skills of this man, historian Johan Grass, owner of the Fort Veldhuis Air War Museum.
Hello.
Now then, Johan.
How are you?
Yeah,
welcome.
sound, mate.
In 1996, a Dutch fishing trawler snagged its nets on something. When they pulled up the net, they got the surprise of their lives. It contained this, a complete Rolls-Royce Merlin engine.
That's the first engine salvaged from the wreck.
Bloody hell. Amazing.
When the fishermen found this engine, they removed the engine plate
Bloody hell, that's the engine plate.
and asked to me, can you identify the plane? And
Bloody
so I could
hell.
see on the record that it was an engine in Lancaster ED-603.
Okay.
So that was the identification of the plane.
My word.
After more than 70 years, ED-603 had been found. When Johan's dive team investigated further and took sonar images, they discovered the plane is actually lying upside down.
You can see here the wing.
What we're looking at here, this is what's visible above the sand.
That's right.
Okay, will there be much below the sand, do you
Yeah,
think?
yeah.
Johan also researched the stories of the plane's crew and traced their living relatives.
You talk with the relatives, you get the stories behind the young guys.
Yes.
And that's more important than the parts itself. And they give their lives for our freedom.
For Africa, exactly.
And
Exactly.
so that is the reason that I do this work.
The fact that 3 of ED-603's crew were still missing led to a full recovery of the plane, being undertaken by the National Dutch Aircraft Recovery Programme. Their aim is to find the remains of missing World War II airmen right across the Netherlands. Lillian van Maurik is an advisor on the national programme.
So the whole national program is 15 million euros. Yeah, they're going to do multiple recoveries, but not everything is feasible. And so they do a lot of research on forehand to see if they think there's still airmen in there.
Yeah.
And what are the chances they're going to find anything.
ED-603, what sort of money are we talking about?
I think around 1.5, 1.7 million.
Bloody hell.
None of this would be happening if it wasn't for the Dutch government.
Yeah, it's a debt of honor, as we see it, because we were occupied, so we lost our freedom for 5 years.
Right.
And that is still something that stays in our DNA. We think it's very important to tell the story about freedom. It's so precious and you always need to protect it. We need to repay something for the Allies, what they did for us. And this is one of those
Yeah, but
things.
this is 80 years on,
Yeah,
and you
I
still.
know, I know.
This is
Still,
amazing.
everyone feels this way.
I think it's... I don't know, what's the right word? What word? It's just absolute humility. Is that the right word? They're just doing it because they're good people and they want to give a bit back for the people that gave them their freedom and democracy. Fair play.
The recovery of ED-603 will be the national programme's most challenging project to date, requiring them to build a cofferdam in the middle of the IJsselmeer.
I didn't really know what a cofferdam was. I just thought, well, they're going to pump the IJsselmeer dry to reveal the Lancaster. I genuinely thought that's what would happen, but the IJsselmeer is massive. It has squillions of litres of water in there. So this is what's going to happen, right? They're going to build a cofferdam around the Lancaster, which is 30 metres squared. It's going to be so much like this. So knock that 10 metres into the seabed, pump it out. Oh, it's quite simple. There we go. There she is. And then reveal Lancaster bomber, just like that.
Demonstrating it in a plastic tub with a baked bean can is one thing. Doing it for real in the middle of the largest lake in the Netherlands has required months of planning.
We've rocked up a week into the building of the cofferdam. I'm going to see if I can give an hand.
Of course, the Dutch are masters at dam building. They've been creating dry land out of open water for centuries.
Oh, I'm dead excited. I'm going to get my camera and take a picture of that. Down job. All right, boss. What is the plan?
We start with coffee.
While it is, of course, an old Dutch team building the cofferdam, Guy quickly finds common ground.
So is it your family's from Grimsby?
My friend's mama come from Grimsby.
Grimsby. Oh, Grimsby, yeah. He knows Grimsby. Oh, yeah. I love it. I love it. So what's the plan? I will do anything. I will make the coffee. I will do anything.
First job for Guy,
Watch your head.
helping move a 15-metre steel jig into position.
Size of that. Look at the way it's flexing there. Some weight in that. Okay. Well, it's a straight edge. To make sure you get all the sheet piles straight. 8 ton.
The team build the dam using massive interlocking corrugated steel piles.
Cutting the lifting iron, and then it cuts the initial bit of the groove off. So when they drop the pile in, it guides in easier for the first few centimetres. It's great. It's great. I loved it. I love getting stuck in.
Each pile is 17 metres long and weighs 4 tons.
The new panel's getting dropped in place. You see that? This notch is easier to guide in. That's the reason for taking that out. Then it gets the vibrating grab on it, locks it on with 300 bar pressure. It's like a pincer with 300 bars.
The piles are driven 10 metres into the lake bed to form a watertight wall that will then be pumped dry, allowing the recovery team to access the wreck as if working on dry land.
It's perfect. It's blown my mind. I thought we was coming out here just to talk about the Lancaster, but actually we've come out here and it's fascinating. But I don't think those lads appreciate what they're doing there is like extreme engineering. Building those cofferdams, it's just, yeah, amazing. This is Wednesday now. By Friday, they'll have all 4 sides locked together. Then I'll have diagonal reinforcements. So they're going to be a couple of weeks welding them in. Then they're going to start pumping it out. See the first sign of ED603. That's the plan.
It's late afternoon on the 12th of June 1943. At RAF bases across the east of England, hundreds of bomber crews are preparing for another raid on Germany. The Battle of the Ruhr is in full swing, a 6-month campaign to cripple Germany's industrial heartland. Tonight's raid will involve 503 bombers.
Ignition on. Contact number 3.
503 planes. That's a lot of men. That's a lot of fuel. You say that's a massive raid. Well, no, it wasn't. It was only the 13th biggest bomber mission on the Battle of the Ruhr.
Taking off from RAF Whiten in Cambridgeshire is Lancaster ED603. It is part of the elite Pathfinder force, meaning it will be one of the first planes over Germany with the mission of accurately dropping flares to mark the night's target for the hundreds of other bombers following in. ED603's crew are very experienced, and their 25-year-old skipper, Flying Officer Eric Tilbury, is an up-and-coming star of the Pathfinders, described in squadron records as the keenest of pilots who would leave nothing undone to become perfect.
He's very handsome. I mean, you must have seen a picture of him.
No, I haven't.
Haven't you?
And what was he? He was 20...
25 when he died. Such a young age.
Yeah, he's only a pup there, isn't he?
Well, he is. Something, you know, doesn't it strike you at such a young age? When I look at the size of a Lancaster bomber,
No.
I mean, they're huge.
No.
4 engines, and there he is at 23, 4, 5, piloting it,
captain of
and
a
not
Lancaster
just going
bomber.
for a joyride.
No.
Eric Tilbury was one of the 4 members of ED603's crew whose bodies were found after their Lancaster crashed into the Isselmere. The massive engineering project now underway on the lake is all about finding the other 3 members of the crew, missing for over 80 years. Tilbury's crew were amongst the best of the best. They were members of the elite Pathfinder force. The finest crews picked from each and every bomber squadron to bring about a much-needed transformation in Bomber Command's effectiveness.
Start of the Second World War, 1939, the bombing wasn't up to much, really. I think I'm not far wrong in saying an absolute disaster. It was all daytime bombing. They thought the best thing to do is to have tightly packed groups of bombers because they could better defend themselves, and then they can go out, do the business, and fly back again. But the problem was the planes weren't up to much. Slow, lumbering bombers, they had no fighter support. There was easy pickings. For an example, December 1939, 22 bombers set off, 15 were lost. And that was just one bombing raid. Another one, this was 1940, 71 planes went out, 40 of them were lost. What's the crack there? What is the crack? Something had to happen. Nighttime bombing is the future.
Shifting operations to nighttime made it more difficult for the Luftwaffe to intercept the bomber streams, but it created a whole new world of other problems.
Flying at nighttime was a pain in the bloody ass. The country was in blackout, and if it's cloudy, you can't see a coastline. You were literally flying blind.
And bomber navigators like Flying Officer Jack Dark had very little help in finding their targets.
It was purely dead reckoning navigation. You drew a line between 2 points and that was your course.
As Guy is about to find out for himself, the technique known as dead reckoning was very inaccurate.
This is my experiment. This is my Lancaster bomber. That's my favourite track to this. My target's over there near them trees, right? But I'm going to try and find that using dead reckoning only.
To replicate flying at night, Guy's wearing special glasses.
The only thing I can see is my tractor dashboard, which has got my speed, my heading, right, and then I've got a stopwatch here.
Dead reckoning relies on knowing the heading and distance to the target and knowing your airspeed.
I've got to work my meters out to time.
Then calculating how long it will take to get there.
Right, so if I'm doing 6 kilometres an hour, I've done 6 kilometres in 1 hour, but I don't need to do 6 kilometres. I only want to do 150 metres.
To make things even more complex, crews never flew a direct route.
They used to disturb the Germans a little bit. They tried to work out where we were going. We would never aim at the target to start with.
Bomber crews would usually fly a 3-legged route to the target, and today so will Guy. Hopefully.
55 degrees northeast for 90 seconds, 97 degrees east for 60 seconds, south at 160 degrees for 30 seconds. Right, I think we've got it at that. I'm not trying to make out I'm Einstein, am I?
And so Guy's experiment in World War II navigation begins. And he quickly finds out that deviating even slightly from your desired heading meant complete failure.
Bloody hell. In them briars.
Luckily, unlike World War II bomber crews, Guy gets a second go.
30 seconds. Nearly there. Nearly there.
And Guy doesn't have to worry about crosswinds pushing him off course.
After an hour, you could be 20, 30 miles away with a different wind.
The inaccuracy of dead reckoning and the RAF's bombing was laid bare at the end of 1941 in the Butt Report.
Not a flattering report, really. Only 5% of bombers dropped bombs within 5 miles of the target. Next one, 160 degrees south, 30 seconds. And 49% of the bombs fell in open country. So, yeah, absolutely bloody madness. And things got that bad, right? There's bombing the wrong towns, and then there was one time out, and they bombed the wrong town in the wrong country, in bloody Denmark. You what? Right, bombs away.
Guy, though, thinks he's got Dead Reckoning nailed.
Oh, that's not bad. That's not bad. I'm quite happy with that. Well, it's not Denmark, is it? I am in the right country.
Until that is, his run is scaled up to the distances World War II bomber crews were covering.
Go on.
By 12 miles.
I missed by 12 miles. Dead reckoning. Yeah, and I didn't have wind drift to take into account, which would have made a big difference.
Repeatedly risking their lives to then miss the target was having a devastating effect on the crews of Bomber Command.
Morale was, there was no morale, you know, because they're losing all of the mates, all of these planes weren't coming back. We're not even hitting the targets, so all of this bravery is going to waste. It's next door to stupidity.
By the third year of the war, it had become obvious that the RAF needed a new plan. The very best crews were plucked from every bomber squadron, intensively trained, and they became the elite Pathfinder force.
1942 was the year that the Pathfinders were founded, same year that this Lancaster bomber came out.
The Lancaster would become the mainstay of Bomber Command's fleet, with well over 7,000 built. And as arguably the best heavy bomber in the war, it was an important tool for the Pathfinders in achieving their single aim of increasing Bomber Command's accuracy.
The sole goal of the Pathfinders was marking the targets. Drop a flare on the target, and then the bomber stream would come in afterwards, see the blazing flare, and drop the bombs on it.
But to be able to drop their marker flares accurately, the Pathfinders needed to be able to find their targets. And for that, they needed the very latest and best navigational technology. The most accurate targeting tool the Pathfinders had was a blind bomb aiming system called oboe, but its range was limited, and it relied on a network of ground stations to guide planes. The other system, as used by the crew of ED-603, was the cutting-edge H2S, the world's first ever airborne ground scanning radar system, a self-contained unit that was fitted to every single Pathfinder Lancaster.
H2S, which this one here has got. You can see that, can't you? You can see that bulge underneath it.
Flight Lieutenant Jack Dark, now 100 years old, operated H2S as a navigator leader in the elite Pathfinders force.
So, Jack, the last time you saw one of these was when?
Well, 45, I suppose.
Right, so it bring back some memories.
Yeah.
My word.
So when this first came out, what did you think? It must have like some witchcraft, you know what I mean, to be able to see in the dark.
It was wonderful, really, to think they could do that sort of thing. Bombing improved by using H2S.
I'm sort of gathering through what we've read, right? The H2S machine would send out a signal at the speed of light.
Right.
And if that signal
hit something, it would come back.
But depending on what it hit, right, it depended on the colour.
Yeah, that's right. Land came out as a lighter blob, and the sea came out as a dark blob, so you could see the coastline. But on top of that, there might be a town appearing at the top of the coastline, and that would come out brighter.
Right, so you could sort of try to identify the industrial areas or the towns that you was after.
That's right.
I cannot believe how hard it is to make out. It's not, not easy. It's not easy.
It wasn't easy, and navigators using H2S would need to shut out all the distractions around them.
When we were on pathfinding, curtains covered the compartment. You didn't want the confusion with outside people, lights and anti-aircraft stuff. You were really shut off from the rest of the crew. And I watched the H2S, talked to the pilot, instruct him as to course before I drop the markers.
Yes, how good were you, Jack?
Well, quite good, I think.
Sat-nav 80 years ago.
Using H2S and oboe, the Pathfinders revolutionised Bomber Command's accuracy.
Remember what I was saying earlier? 1941, only 5% of bombs were dropped within 5 miles of the target, right? That was crap, right? By the time the Pathfinders were up and running and fettled by 1945, right, 95% of bombs were dropped within 3 miles of the target. That is day and night.
It's approaching midnight, and now well into their Pathfinder mission. Lancaster ED-603's H2S radar tells them they've crossed the Dutch coast. They adjust their course to be heading southeast across the IJsselmeer, towards Germany. They are now over enemy territory in Lancaster, one of the most dangerous places you could be in the entire war. They know there will be numerous German night fighters already in the air looking for them.
There was holes in the German radar across here, so they couldn't radio through to the German night fighters to come and get you because they had holes in the radar. So this was the favoured route.
Pilot Officer Charles Sprack is manning the mid-upper turret machine guns, scanning the sky for enemy planes.
Charles was the one with the most flying hours out of Eric Tilbury's crew, so he did 55 operational sorties.
Right.
Which is insane.
Yes.
At some point on some of his sorties, he managed to shoot down two German planes.
Oh, so he was a dab hand then.
And for that, he gets a Distinguished Flying Medal. It's a very small family, so every person that carries the name Sprack is precious.
Yeah. So it means a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you'll just excuse me, but yes.
No, boss, no. There's no panic, boy. There's no panic. It means a lot.
It does. And it gets you.
At 1:20 a.m. on the 13th of June, Pathfinder Lancaster ED-603 reaches its target, the city of Bochum, in the heart of Germany's industrial Ruhr Valley, home to one of Germany's largest steelworks, the Bochumer Verein. The Ruhr, though, is heavily defended by over 400 flak batteries and 18 squadrons of night fighters. On board ED-603, Pilot Officer Gordon Fletcher needs to ignore the storm of flak. He's the bomb aimer, and the success of the whole mission rests on him and his fellow Pathfinders, releasing their marker flares accurately. Fletcher joined the Canadian Air Force at just 17 and felt it was his duty to come to England and do his bit in the fight against the Nazis.
My uncle's name was Gordon Fletcher. He grew up in London, Ontario. My mother kept this picture of her brother beside her bedside her entire life. When she passed away, I got it, and it now sits on my bedside. So in his last letter home to his parents, he said, "You just need to understand that I thought a lot about this, and I really felt that this was the right thing for me to do and to go. If he had to die, he was prepared to do so. He wanted them to know that he loved them, and so it's quite a letter. I cried reading it. It's still as impactful today as it was, I'm sure, for my grandparents and my mom and my dad."
Gordon Fletcher was initially listed as a fourth missing member of ED-603's crew, but a body that washed up and was buried just 1 week after the crash was exhumed 3 years later in 1946 and identified as Fletcher. What happened to the other 3 missing men, however, remains a mystery. Today, though, the investigation will move one big step closer to finding answers. The now finished cofferdam is being drained.
I'm genuinely excited. I didn't want to miss this. That's why we're here. And if we see that, that's going to be the first time that Lancaster bomber has seen daylight for 80-odd years. You know what I mean? It's going to be, I don't know, we'll see. I think it might be quite emotional.
Time to start the pumps. The IJsselmeer is actually just 4 meters deep at the crash site, less than the height of a double-decker bus. However, to completely empty the dam today, they'll need to pump out 3.5 million litres of water.
What do they reckon it's going to be? 3 or 4 hours? I think I'm not being overly optimistic. We are starting to see a drop in the water level. Do you think? Turn your camera around and have a look. Turn it around. That is a drop in the water level, isn't it? A little bit. Whatever, the water's going down, so come on, let's have a cup of tea. And hopefully when we get back, we'll start seeing a bit of Lancaster bomber.
As the water level drops, the cofferdam starts to spring multiple leaks. But the Dutch crew have an ingenious solution which involves a few bags of compost from a local garden centre.
Sand, peat and coal dust. You know, as you're pouring it onto the crack, the water's flowing into the crack and then taking that with it, it expands out, blocks it up. Yeah, that's got her. That's got her. Bloody brilliant job. Well impressed.
After 3 full hours of pumping, Guy checks how much the water level has dropped from the 4 metres it started at.
2 metres 70. Thank you. 270. Bit to go.
Another 2 hours of pumping and there's still no sign of the wreckage.
We are only 1 metre 60 from the seabed now, and we have seen absolutely sod all. Except we can see oil slicks or fuel slicks. How has that just appeared now? Is it because we're releasing the pressure off whatever's down there, which is releasing the fuel or the oil? Is that what it is?
5 hours in.
We should be seeing something. We should be seeing something. Yeah, well, there's a bloody load of fish in there. They got unlucky, didn't they? And they've got the whole of the Islemere Lake to go at, and they end up getting stuck in this dam. What are we going to do with the fish? Worrying that's not very deep. 85 centimetres, 850 mil. So if we was going to see anything, I think we'd be seeing it by now.
And then...
Yeah. Big one. Oh, look, a bigger there. Over there. I think that is something. It looks like a couple of dark spots. It just looks like 2 black eyes and a nose. I think that is something, isn't it? Massive moment, massive moment. And then there, look, it's all sort of coming at once now. We've definitely got a bit there, we've definitely got a bit there. And then that there, is that the tip of the tail plane or something? I don't know. It's amazing, it's amazing, it's amazing. All the engineering that's to get it to this point now. I would never have believed that you're going to put a dam around a plane and pump the water out and see. I would never have believed that.
As the first piece of wreckage breaks the surface, everyone on the cofferdam stops and observes 2 minutes of silence. Over the next couple of days, they'll carefully pump the dam dry.
Plenty of barnacles on it.
Then the team can finally start their search for the missing crew and find evidence which could explain what happened to this plane on that night 80 years ago. It's 2 a.m. and ED603 is now on its way home, heading for the North Sea. But all is not well. The plane was hit by flak over Germany and is limping home, making it easy prey for the German night fighters patrolling the skies ahead. The crew are in good hands though. Flight engineer Arthur Bertram Smart is a highly skilled mechanic. At 29, he's the oldest member of the crew, and twice already he's repaired Lancasters in flight and got them home. This time, however, he won't make it, and his body will not be found. His father will refuse to give up hope though, and will still be writing to the Air Ministry in 1953, 10 years later, asking for any news at all of his son.
I don't know that much about him. It was obviously my mum's brother. He was born in India.
He was born in
and
India.
he came across here to join, obviously, the RAF.
So what age was he when he moved over from India?
He must have been young because he was only 29 when he got killed.
Just as blunt as that, hey? Death presumed.
Mm-hmm.
Just as simple as that, that's it.
As far as the family knew, they'd come down over the channel. I wish my mum had lived just a wee bit longer so she would have known where he is. As time's gone on, it means a lot to me. But it's more for my mum.
Okay.
Because, like I said, I never knew.
The facts of how ED-603 and its crew were shot down are few and far between. It is known that ED-603 was identified as it limped home by this German radar command post, located northwest of the IJsselmeer. And world-renowned Luftwaffe historian Christian Koenig knows for a fact which German pilot brought down ED-603.
We've got information there's a German night fighter circling above the IJsselmeer, which is the crew of Oberleutnant Rudolf Siegmund.
Rudolf Siegmund was a highly decorated night fighter ace, flying the twin-engined Messerschmitt Bf-110. He'd already shot down one Lancaster that night. However, Christian can only speculate as to what happened once Siegmund had ED-603 in his sights.
Where the sun is now, the moon would have been in this fateful night. So the night fighter is flying behind, directed by the radar installation on the ground. And he has to stick to the port wing, because otherwise, if he was turning too far to the right side, the moon could possibly cause reflections in the canopy and in the fuselage. And then the tail gunner sitting there could have spotted the night fighter. So because of that, the night fighter was flying on the left side. The next thing what the night fighter most likely did was pulling upwards and shooting with 20mm cannons in the fuel tanks between the number 1 and number 2 engines.
Ah, so this was the method they used,
Yes.
right, okay.
If you knock out the engines, get the aircraft burning, and this is what most of the night fighters did, and then watch
and then
the
that plane
huge
has got to
burning
come
thing,
down.
it's going down.
It's got to go down, it's got to go down, right, okay.
This footage from another Messerschmitt 110 firing on an American B-17 illustrates the same style of attack. If Christian's right, ED-603 was now crippled and, as sonar images suggest, the plane wreck is lying upside down at the bottom of the IJsselmeer, current thinking is that Tilbury made an unsuccessful attempt to touch down on the water.
So we had to do an emergency ditching, but then unfortunately the aircraft tipped over when hitting the waves.
Ah, right. Gone over the handlebars.
Flipped over, and that was it.
ED-603 was one of thousands of aircraft that came down over the Netherlands during the Second World War. Pathfinder flight engineer Dick Raymond was on board another of them.
It's pure and utter luck that I'm sat here today.
Having joined the Pathfinders when he was just 19, Dick and his crew were on a mission to drop marker flares on the German town of Braunschweig. They were all looking forward to the wedding of their pilot, Ken Lane, that weekend, at which Dick was to be the best man.
When we were hit, I was in the bomber's compartment. All of a sudden, the whole plane was on fire. I thought, well, this is no bloody place to wait. You better get out of here quick. And nobody had pulled off an escape hatch faster than I did that day. To show you how close it was, I felt the explosion when the plane blew up. I could feel it. And the only thing that was going through my mind, I've missed a bloody wedding.
Believing the rest of his crew, including his best mate the pilot, had perished when the plane exploded, Dick was quickly taken prisoner by the Germans and held in a local police station.
I think I was there a couple of days. And then, to my utter delight, in came my skipper, Ken.
After spending the rest of the war in a POW camp, Dick did finally go to Ken's wedding.
In 1950, I was to be his best man. And in 1955, he was mine. He was my lifelong friend. I went to his funeral about 3 years ago.
3 of Dick's crewmates died when their plane exploded over the Netherlands. Like all Allied aircrew whose bodies could be found, they were buried close to where they fell in local Dutch graveyards. Hopefully 3 more Allied aircrew can soon be given the proper burials they too deserve. The search for the 3 missing crew members of Lancaster ED-603 is now fully underway, and it appears the investigation is already producing results.
We're going to the crash site, and they've been there a week, pulling out bits of the Lancaster, and the word is that they've found human remains, right? That's as much as we know, so we're going to go learn a bit more. The drone lads here that's doing the photos from above, they're local lads, they're from Holland, and they're saying that it is the story in Holland at the moment. Everyone's on about it, all over the papers, on the news. Yeah, and to be part of that is mega. Bloody hell. You wouldn't really believe that we was in the middle of the sea.
With the lake bed now fully exposed,
unbelievable.
What they find is being systematically removed and examined.
So this is just a lot of stuff in it. Let me get this right. We've got diggers in the bottom of the dam, shoving all the muck from around the wreckage. That barge with the crane on it comes over, pulls the muck out, puts that muck onto this conveyor. It's a stone separating system that they use for lifting potatoes out. So anything that was bigger than 8mm ends up in here. There's 1 person sorting plane bits, 1 person sorting human remains, 1 person sorting asbestos and the radiation parts, and then ordnance, which, to be honest, I didn't know what that word meant, but that meant all the bullets and shells and bombs that haven't gone off. And what remains goes back into the barge, which eventually will go back inside the dam before they take the dam to bits.
The whole recovery will take 5 weeks, and keeping track of exactly what's been found is key.
Is it in here? Next one. We know it's in here somewhere. Oh, right, yeah, here we go. Look at this. This is what's been found and what hasn't been found. Obviously, what's coloured in, that's what we've got. So we've got radiators, we've got wheels, we've got an engine, bits of airframe, bits of panels, bits of rudder. That's not a rudder, is it? That's an aileron. Let me get that right. I don't know my planes. I'll be getting sacked, won't I? It's a flap, sorry, it's a flap. Sorry. Look at that.
Next, Guy heads down into the cofferdam with Koen Cornelissen from the aircraft recovery team.
The fuselage is here, but it's just disintegrated. It's like someone's got a Lancaster bomber and cut it into 1,000 pieces, put it in a bucket, shook the bucket about, and just tipped it into the sea.
You have a large piece of the wing.
Yeah.
You know what this is?
These are oxygen tanks.
Yeah.
And all of the oxygen tanks are stored in one place, so that's why they're there.
As they look around the wreckage, Koen makes a remarkable discovery.
Look at this.
Clues that paint a horrific picture of ED-603's last moments.
I see it now.
Is that a bullet hole?
This is a bullet hole.
Do you think that's a bullet hole?
The bullets were linked.
And they travel in this?
But this is really rare. These are holes from exploded rounds by heat from the fire. I can see it. I first thought that this is a bullet hole from the German, but it isn't.
There's no way, all in line, no way. So there's been that much heat on inside the plane, the bullets have gone off whilst they was in the chain, not in the gun. So, and that's what all of these are. These are all the rounds going off in the chain. And you've just worked that out now, that's what's happened.
Yeah, this happened in the air.
A fire needs to reach 400 degrees before bullets spontaneously explode, which points to a ferocious fire on board ED-603. as pilot Tilbury fought to bring it down safely on the lake.
Okay.
The location of some wreckage also offers clues as to where the team should search for the 3 missing crew members. Radio operator Edward Moore.
Yeah, you see the equipment from the radio.
It's a lot of wiring, a lot of cables. So do you think there could be some remains there, maybe? Possibly.
Flight engineer Arthur Smart.
We won't touch it, but there's one of the parachutes.
Bloody hell.
Somewhere here, where the flight engineer.
And mid-upper gunner, Charles Sprack.
This is the part of the turret.
Ah, right. Mid-upper turret, that's what that is.
And he's missing, so maybe...
He shouldn't be far away, maybe.
If he is here, we found him.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
While the delicate recovery work continues, Guy searches out Lieutenant L. Schiltmans, a senior identification specialist from the Dutch Army.
Your job is to find body parts.
Yes,
Right.
human remains.
Have we found human remains?
We did, yes.
Right.
Very small amount, but it's only been the 2nd week. So it is expected not to find that many remains in the 1st week.
Right.
Because you're going through the topsoil. So we're expecting more in the next couple of days, weeks.
And what have you found?
I won't be going into that.
You can't tell us that.
Details of exactly what has been found will not be revealed until a full forensic examination has been completed.
Best outcome would be was to find 3 of the same body parts.
Yes. Ideally, we will find 3 of the same bone that can tell us it's 3 different people. That's what we need.
So then you know you have got 3 different people.
Yes.
So that's not happened yet.
Not yet.
But it could still happen.
Of course.
This is an amazing feat of engineering.
It is.
And the reason behind it. I just think it's amazing. The whole thing's amazing.
Yeah, but the Dutch government considers this as a debt of honor and a duty of care. And that's why we're still here doing this. And, I mean, you can't leave them here, can you?
No.
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 And the families, they don't have a place to go. And we'll give them a place to go.
The difference between the UK and the Netherlands is they've been occupied and they've been liberated. Thank goodness the UK was never occupied and it didn't suffer that. And because it didn't suffer that, I don't think it has this psychological scarring to show the gratitude of when it was taken away.
The Dutch have never forgot that.
After 80 years at the bottom of a lake in the Netherlands, Lancaster ED603 is starting to reveal its secrets. As experts painstakingly extract every fragment of the plane and search for the remains of its 3 missing crew members. Today, Guy is helping recover one of the heavier fragments, the last of the plane's 4 Rolls-Royce Merlin engines.
It's quite intact.
It's quite intact, isn't it?
Now look, you can still see the part numbers.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Do you want me to dig the sand out?
Yes, please.
Okay. She's tight.
Tight. We want to keep all our fingers.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Stand clear. That needs a good wash.
Yeah.
Now you can clean.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Pressure washing the Merlin off. That's what we're going to do. Get rid of the barnacles. I think this is the best job you'd ever get in steam cleaning. In a Rolls-Royce Merlin that's been in the bottom of the sea for 80 years. This is it. I have made it in the steam cleaning world. This is mega. We'll have a running bit tea time. Now that is knackered, isn't it? It's just a load of stuff disintegrated. You know what I mean? You've got the 2 different metals together. You've got cast steel against aluminium, and the aluminium is expanded and just smashed a load of stuff off. And then you've got the beautiful stainless steel lock wiring that looks like it was put on yesterday.
Merlin engine is an impressive find, but back on shore, in an anonymous red shipping container, is where the operation's really important discoveries are kept. The parts which hold vital clues as to ED603's fate.
This is a small armor plate, but you can see the German night fighter.
This is from the night fighter, and this is what brought it down.
We also can see which scale they used. This.
You can make out what size bullet?
Yes, this was a 20mm grenade.
You know your stuff. This is impressive.
Incredibly, Kuhn is convinced that this wreckage now tells a whole new, very violent story of the crew's last minutes.
Yeah. We have a little table of the navigator. So,
I cannot believe it. I mean, I know it's knackered, but it's still intact, isn't it?
yeah, you can also see fire. Yeah, and therefore we
Fire.
This is fire.
And you can still make this out 80 years on.
We found a lot of parts. It was burned. Another proof from the big fire. This is
So that's plexiglass.
plexiglass. Look at this.
More evidence of a fire on board.
The melted and blackened plexiglass tells the same story as the exploding ammunition holes that Kuhn and Guy found yesterday in the cofferdam, and other exploded bullets that have been recovered.
So right, we've got a different story then. We originally thought ED603 gently came down, tried to belly land it onto the water, and we thought it flipped over, but this wasn't the case. We think now the plane has had a massive fire on board. Look, the evidence is here, and you've got other pits with fire damage.
And it already turned in the air and
big speed
on its back through the water.
In the water.
Yeah.
Disintegrate, and this is what remains.
Yes.
After the revelations of the container, and as the recovery reaches its conclusion, throwing up even more small pieces of evidence, Guy is finally able to construct the story of what did happen to ED603 in its final moments.
What we now know, ED603 went and did its pathfinding mission over Bochum, got hit by flak on the port wing, so it was limping home over the Netherlands IJsselmeer Lake when it got shot at by a German night fighter, which has caused a load of damage, what you see here. Right, so that's armour plating that's had shells hit it, and these are the flight crew's personal oxygen tanks, and one of those has been hit.
This is clear evidence that rounds from the German night fighter penetrated the Lancaster's fuselage.
That's caused a fire between the radio operator and here, the rear upper gunner, which by the looks of it was a massive fire, because these bullets were ready to be used by upper gunner. Fire in the heat has caused those bullets to go off before they were shot, and then that Perspex all discoloured and all cracked and crinkled, so it's been bloody hot in there. So by the looks of it, that plane hit the water flat out, hit the water at 300 miles an hour and completely disintegrated. You know, as we've seen the evidence, haven't we? It's a fascinating bit of detective work. I mean, this was all great knowing all of this, but that wasn't really the goal. What it was about was finding remains of these three fellas. Sprack, Smart, and Moore.
And that's the one big question left to answer. Have all three missing airmen finally been found? Over the last 6 months, Guy Martin has been involved in an extraordinary historical detective story.
Massive moment, massive moment.
To try and find the remains of the 3 missing crew members of a World War II Lancaster.
The word is that they've found human remains, right? That's as much as we know.
And he's pieced together exactly why.
This is fire. This is fire.
And how that bomber crashed into the IJsselmeer in the Netherlands 80 years ago.
That plane hit the water at 300 miles an hour and completely disintegrated.
Guy's final visit to the cofferdam built around the crash site of Lancaster ED 603 will be a memorable one for him and many others. Because the families of ED 603's crew have travelled from the UK and Canada to attend a ceremony honouring the lost airmen.
30 family members.
And we've got the Defence Minister on the boat as well.
I thought you was joking. I'm in my bloody shorts and my raincoat.
They've been busy for the last 3 or 4 days. They've all been to the crew's graves. This morning they've been to a show and tell for bits that's been pulled out, and so they can tell a story about that. It's been, yeah, they've had a busy schedule.
Whatever the result of this excavation may be, today we remember them all, standing at a place that will be forever linked to the fate of these 7 brave men.
It's just been remarkable for us as a family to come and be part of this, and for my uncle to get the kind of recognition and the other crew members, especially the ones that they're searching for, and to honor them, I think is just fantastic.
I think it's utterly incredible what they're doing. I'm just blown away by their dedication, their kindness, their consideration.
I just think it's amazing what they've done.
What are you thinking when you're looking over that edge?
Imagining, how did they feel? What were they doing? Were they just doing everything they could to get out? I cannot believe they didn't get in that aircraft every time and be absolutely shit scared of what was going to happen.
Just absolutely, I just can't get over, like I was saying, yeah, he was our uncle, but until you've actually come out here and seen sort of where it crashed in the actual plane, yeah, it's just amazing.
It's just so wonderful what they've done, and they keep saying it's for me and others like me. It's difficult to put into words. Words that I know won't be enough to express it.
It's sad and it's also surreal that we're here doing this. But important to do, and it's been a great day.
Last trip. What to do? When you meet the family, those are the people that's been affected, even though it was 80 years ago. You know what I mean? They're so humbled by what the Dutch have done and are doing. It's... Oh. I told my young one who was going to take a plane out to sea and pump the sea out. You know what I mean? And that's what they've done. I mean, we knew within a couple of days that they'd found human remains. Now, whether they'd found 3 human remains, we're not going to know that for a long time. Yeah. Yeah, we're not at the end of it yet, are we? No, we're not at the end.
All the human remains found at the crash site are now here at the Dutch Army Recovery and Identification Unit in Soesterberg.
Oh, and just some gloves.
Senior ID specialist here is Lieutenant L. Schiltmans.
So this is our osteo lab.
Some spot. We're not allowed to show the remains from ED 603?
No, this is unrelated to ED 603.
What's the reason behind that?
So we expect the family members to look at the documentary, and we don't want them to...
Respect.
Exactly.
Using unidentified remains from other sites, however, Els can explain how forensic examination of the remains from ED 603 offers clues as to whether she has found all 3 men.
We have 3 different individuals that we are looking for.
Yep.
One is 29, there's one that is 23, and one is 21.
Yeah, that's you know what I mean. That's all round about the same sort
Yeah,
of age.
but still,
Can you tell?
yeah,
You can tell.
we'll be able to tell the difference between somebody that's 29 and that's 21.
As well as working out ages from bones, Els can also analyse fractures, something very common in plane crash victims, and she can easily tell when they happened.
You can tell by the way the bone is fractured. So a living bone is more like flexible, so it will bend before it breaks.
Yes.
So it gives you a different structure in the fracture.
Whereas a dead person's bones are more brittle.
Yes, and they will just break. Like the changing color, this is lighter than the surroundings.
Yes,
this is all the
yes.
same. See the difference?
Yeah, yeah.
The condition of the skeletal remains Els has examined from ED603 backs up the idea that the plane crashed into the water at massive speed.
We can tell that in the case of ED603, people had a lot of impact on their bodies because of all the fractures that we see.
Right. Have you used any DNA research to identify any of the remains on ED603?
No.
Why not?
So our aim in this investigation is to find 3 individuals. We know who we are missing and we know who they were. It won't tell us anything different than what we already
Yeah, so
know.
yeah, no need.
More important than DNA in cases like that of ED603 are personal artefacts, all of which get thoroughly cleaned as soon as they get to the lab.
Why we bother cleaning it?
Because there might be something on there that we need to see. Sometimes you can find like service numbers on there or somebody carves their name in, anything.
That smell is the same when we was out at the dam. A bit fishy, a bit salty.
Hundreds of personal artefacts and equipment were found in the wreck of ED603.
Look at that bloody boat. 80 years.
Pocket knife.
It's just mad. You just think these are all like little personal. Is that a neck chain?
Yeah.
Look what you got there. Fountain pen.
Yeah. With the cap, still.
Bloody fountain pen. That's cleaned up the best, hasn't it? Still got the lettering on it. If I hold that up, can you see the lettering? Well, that looks like it's been on fire. No? I'm guessing.
Els can only speculate about who most of this belonged to.
Pipe, yeah.
Apparently a lot of pilots smoke pipes.
Is that right?
However, she has made 2 quite extraordinary finds.
If you're talking like a personal item,
Yep.
then we would want to know who it belonged to. One specific person.
Oh, bloody hell, what's a wallet?
It's a cigarette case.
Right, okay.
Just look in the front.
ABS. Arthur Bertram Smart.
There you go.
Yeah. Bloody hell, look at that.
That's his.
Look at that. Now, have we any idea, was that near any remains?
Yes.
Right, okay, okay.
This is something that he would probably have had on
him?
his person.
Yeah.
So,
He would, yeah.
you know. So this is Smart's
Yeah.
cigarette case. Turn it over.
EM.
Raymond Edward Moore.
Yeah. Bloody hell. Again, a cigarette case, you think?
No, I know. It is.
You know it is.
Yeah.
Raymond Edward Moore. So this was found with remains?
Yes.
So this, you think, was on the person? Holy shit. So that's 2 of them identified?
Yes.
What about Sprack?
Well, we don't have anything personal, no personal item that we can relate to Charles Frederick John Sprack.
Go on.
But of course, we have assessed the human remains that we have recovered from the site. We know that there were 3 individuals recovered.
Okay, that was the best case scenario, wasn't
Yeah.
it, where you found, and that's what you've done?
Yeah.
Fair play. Got the job done.
Yeah.
Mega. A lot of work to get to that point. A lot of work, wasn't it?
Yeah.
After his revelatory visit to the lab, Guy immediately calls the family members of flight engineer Arthur Smart.
Now, Gail, How you getting on?
I'm getting on fine, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not so bad, mate, not so bad.
And mid-upper gunner, Charles Sprack.
Now then, Gareth, how you getting on, mate?
I'm doing fine, thank you, Guy.
Spot on, mate, spot on. Right, we're just over here in Holland, and they're telling us they've found 3 sets of body remains. What do you think to that?
Well, it's wonderful news, very interesting and very exciting from our point of view.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
we can all be at peace now.
Fantastic.
Well, I'm pleased for all 3 of our families that they can arrange a decent burial.
When we was in the military laboratory today, we found his cigarette case. I held it, you know, it's got his initials on it. It's what a piece of kit. It's all cleaned up the best.
It's amazing the job they've done.
Yeah, we're over the moon that that we've got a bit of closure for you.
Yes, I definitely feel closure.
It will be over a year before the funerals of Arthur Smart, Edward Moore and Charles Sprack can finally take place after the investigation has been fully concluded. Then they will be laid to rest together in the same grave with individual headstones.
The conclusion is it couldn't have gone better. And it was all about giving these 3 lads a proper burial. We owe all of this to the Dutch. The Dutch feel they've still got this massive debt that they need to repay. The only hope that they had was the Allies, the bombers flying over the likes of Lake IJsselmeer, and that gave them massive hope. That's going to give us freedom eventually. And they haven't forgot that. They haven't forgot that. And they can repay that by recovering all of the airmen from all of these crash sites. Bloody balls, you know what I mean? Lads getting on them planes. And like their chances of coming back was next to none, and they were still chomping to get out night after night after night. The balls. Fair play, you know what I mean? I'm not forgetting this. I'm definitely not forgetting this. No way.